Hello everyone, Oliver G here of the Earful Tower podcast. I want to say, first up, thanks for being here. I want to say secondly, I'm back in Paris. I think a lot of you probably didn't know I wasn't in Paris because I didn't really go on about it. A few of you messaged me about it. I was in Sweden. I went over to Sweden. My wife's Swedish. We were over there showing our son to his grandparents on his mum's side. And it was really nice. But now I'm back here and I'm ready to go. And I figured what better way to see what's happening in the city of Paris and to answer your many questions about daily life in Paris. What better way to do it than to literally ask you guys for your questions and to answer them. So that's what I did. I sent out a picture on the Instagram and on Facebook and in my weekly newsletter, and I said, what do you want to know? The only caveat was I wasn't interested in practical questions, travel advice questions, things about vaccinations, because I'm not the guy to answer that. I'm the guy to entertain you, to distract you. Why would I, if I answered how Americans can translate their vaccination passes to Parisian ones, then I would surely have to do it for Australians too, and for Canadians, and for people in Egypt, who knows? So I'm not that guy. Those questions aren't going to be answered, but I can answer questions about daily life in Paris. So I think you're going to like this episode because I'm going to answer probably about 20 or 30 of those questions. I'm going to do it in a very fun way. But first, let's have a little bit of a jingle. Now, before we get into anything, I want to give you a little sort of update on the situation here, because I did something really cool yesterday, and it doubles as a good way to explain what's happening in the city right now. I managed to score really good tickets to a friend who works at the club, to the Paris Saint-Germain football team, PSG. Now, Parisians love this team, soccer, football players, whatever you want to call them. Those guys are heroes to the Parisians. And I did this Instagram story about my visit. And I even wrote in the Instagram story that I figured a lot of the followers weren't football fans, but I was gobsmacked to see that a lot of you were. But even if you weren't, I'm just going to give you the story because it gives you a little insight into Paris and also the situation here in terms of how the city's functioning at the moment. So I got these really good tickets to the game, and as I've mentioned on social media, I'm fully vaccinated now. But the way it works in Paris right now is once you're fully vaccinated, it takes 7 days before you can go visiting coffee shops, restaurants, museums, and football games. I don't know why it works like that. That's just how it works. I don't even care why it works, but it takes 7 days to get your vaccination pass. So I go out to this football game, and there's a lot of people there. It's the first game that they have a crowd in like a year and a half. And not only that, they've just signed a football player called Messi, who I'm sure you've all heard of before. He's probably one of the top 3 athletes in the whole world right now, and he's just signed to play for the team. So everyone's going bananas for this already, and I got a ticket to get to this game. And as I walk in, I'm chancing it that my double vaccination card, which still hasn't passed the 7-day mark, will get me in. And as I pass the first boundary, the guy goes, "I'm not sure you're going to get through the gate, just letting you know." And I was like, well, let's be smart here. I turn around. Out the front, they've got a vaccination center where you can get an antigen test. And if you've got a carte vitale, which is like a social security number in France, you can get the antigen test for free and in 10 minutes. So imagine this for efficiency. I went to the little booth. They stuck the thing up my nose, which was almost made me sneeze. And then they go, "We'll text you results in about 10 minutes. I spend that 10 minutes walking to the entry to get into the stadium. And when I get there, they say, "Do you have your pass?" I say, "Well, I haven't got my pass sanitaire yet, but I do have this antigen result that came through 1 minute ago." And they said, "Welcome to the game." And the game was incredible. It was like the atmosphere, the first time I've been in a crowd like that for years, really. Oh, a little child's walking past. I'm sitting in the park right now. But here's a little sound from the game just to give you the vibe. What a wonderful game it was. So that's what I did last night. The city feels like it's opening up. And here I am now about to answer your questions, which I thought I'd do sitting at home until I read the first email that came through with a question about daily life in Paris. And it said this: "Hi Oliver, is the crêperie, so the place that makes crepes, next to Esmeralda's Cafe near Notre Dame, still open for business? Chris, my hubby, and I have visited a few times over the years, and unfortunately we can't get to Paris until we're free to leave Australia, but we'd love to find out if the rather grumpy monsieur is still serving his delicious crepes. Merci from Carol of French Views. She puts her website, frenchviews.com.au. Check it out. I don't know. But I thought, I can't answer that question from home. Why don't I jump on the scooter and take you all there to find out if the creperie is still open and to maybe eat a crepe? Are you ready, guys? Let's go for a ride. Alright, so I parked the scooter right near the Notre Dame, and what a lovely drive that was down Boulevard Saint-Germain, that big sort of road that runs straight through the middle of the left bank on the south side of the river. And it was really quiet because, of course, it's August in Paris. Everything is closed. All the boutiques, the shops, a lot of the restaurants along the way were closed, and so there wasn't much traffic either. But as I pulled up at the Notre Dame, I was really glad to see how many tourists there were. In fact, how many there are. I'm standing on the Parvis right now, and I can see what I like about all the tourists in Paris is they often do like weird things. Like I saw a bunch of people taking pictures of the pigeons that were sitting near the river there. I saw here's a travel warning. I saw some people falling for that the scam. If you ever see people come up with a paper on a clipboard, I think they say that they're deaf and they get you to sign something. Then when you sign it, like they tell you it's a petition, and then when you finish signing it, they reveal that you've signed to give them 10 euros or something. So just don't sign. They're not even deaf, those guys. It's a scam. So don't forget that. But as for the Notre Dame, before I get onto the Esmeralda Cafe, a lot of people asked me about an update on the Notre Dame. I'm standing here I'm looking at the front facade now, which didn't get so damaged by the fire, and that looks just as normal as ever. It's around the back where everything really burned down, so we'll take a look at that. But I know a lot of you guys haven't been here in years, really, so I'll give you a little update. They've cordoned off the whole Notre Dame with these big, how high would that be? That's got to be 4 meters maybe, so I don't know, 12, 13 feet high walls. But on the walls they put, in several languages, at least in French and English where I'm standing, updates on the progress of the restoration. And on the front side they've put all this artwork from children about Notre Dame. It's all pretty nice. So when you make it, even though you might think you can't get close to Notre Dame, there's loads of cool pictures and information about how the rebuild is going. Now, I've been working on getting some amazing access to the Notre Dame while it's under reconstruction, but I don't want to jinx myself, so I won't say any more right now. But from this side where I'm standing, which is the west side, the facade of it, it looks brilliant. You can come here and take pictures, and that's what lots of people are doing today, speaking lots of different languages, and it makes me happy. Let's go find that crêperie. Alright, here I am standing up front of the Brasserie Esmeralda. Esmeralda named, of course, after the young woman, or the girl, I guess, in Victor Hugo's book, Notre Dame, The Hunchback of Notre Dame. And, well, I'm looking for a crêperie next door, and there isn't. There's a new torrefactor, like it looks like a new coffee-making place. So, Carol, maybe that's the answer to your question. And maybe in the background you guys could hear on the Pont Saint-Louis, that's the bridge that joins the two islands, there's live music playing, there are people clapping. It's all happening here. It's not super busy. I mean, Cafe Esmeralda is very closed. But there's a cool vibe in the air, and I don't want to disappoint you listeners who are maybe hoping to hear the sound of a crepe being made. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk down this street where I know there are lots of crepe shops. And I'm going to go to the first one, and I'm going to order a crepe, and I'm going to see if the monsieur there is grumpy or not. I have a feeling he won't be. But if you want to look on a map where I'm walking, Rue du Cloître, Notre Dame. Right on the north side of Notre Dame. Lots of scaffolding on my right hand side, even more scaffolding on my left hand side on the Notre Dame, and lots of tourists in front of me. See if we can hear different languages. I heard American. The Americans are back. Okay, so now we're crossing over Rue Massillon, which is a charming little street that leads into the middle of this island, and then a souvenir shop, and then crepes. Gosh, I think those instructions weren't clear enough, Carol. I wonder which crepe shop you were talking about. I see them laid out in front of me. Okay, here's one. Let's see what happens. Bonjour, je prends un crêpe au Nutella, s'il vous plaît. Il y a un minimum pour payer par carte ici? Ok, parfait. Ça va? Ça va et vous? Ouais, pas mal. C'est quoi comme crêpe ici? C'est pas comme les autres?
Ouais, il y a ronde et il y a en rectangle.
Ok, wow.
C'est un autre type de crêpe.
Je peux prendre une photo, c'est ok? Ça, c'est le premier comme ça que j'ai vu à Paris. Mais c'est pas normal ou quoi? C'est d'un autre.
C'est breton, ça vient de Bretagne.
Breton, ok, cool.
C'est pareil, mais en rectangle.
C'est good, c'est le même.
C'est la même pâte, exactement.
Ouais, ok.
Mais c'est plus facile.
Plus facile à manger aussi.
C'est pareil.
Merci beaucoup. Wow.
Bon appétit.
Je peux payer aussi?
Ah oui, pardon, j'ai complètement oublié. 3 s'il vous plaît.
Ouais, je prends une bouteille d'eau aussi en fait. Petite. This could be as far from grumpy as I've ever seen. Didn't even ask me to pay. C'est bon, vous pouvez garder l'étiquette.
Merci beaucoup.
Bonne journée.
Bonne journée, au revoir.
Au revoir. Super friendly guy. So, in case I wasn't clear from that exchange, I got he made it not a round crepe, but a crepe in the style of Brittany, which is, so he made it like it was like an arm's length, literally from the fingertips to your shoulder, and about the width of a hand, and then he folded it into quarters, wrapped it up, gave it to me, and it was really lovely. So there you go. Now on to into the Marais to check with some friends of the show, a local cafe that I want to visit. Regular listeners probably know exactly where I'm going. Let's do it on foot through the Ile Saint-Louis. Oh man, what a lovely walk across the Ile Saint-Louis there. When I crossed that bridge, there were rollerbladers and roller skaters dressed up in sort of traditional French, like Breton clothes, like stripy shirts. He had a big moustache on, and they were going along to music. I took some videos that I'll put on Instagram. But then, as I crossed the bridge to get over to the Marais, they had like a in English you'd say second-hand, like a market, brocante. And people were sort of flocking to buy second-hand furniture and jewelry and stuff like that. Never seen it on the bridge there before. That was really cool. And then I think a lot of you have already guessed that I was on the way to Le Peloton coffee shop, which I talked a lot about on the show before and even in my book. But the lads, my friends that work here, aren't here. I was thinking to talk to them, so instead, speaking of Instagram, I figured I'd go through some of the many, many messages that you guys sent in with questions on that last picture that I put up and answer some rapid fire. Here we go. Joker Teg says, does anyone wear activewear on the streets of Paris? When I lived there in 2004, I'd always get funny looks when I walked 200 meters to the gym in my activewear. Not that I think everyone wearing activewear all day is a good thing. I'm just curious if anything has changed. That's a good question. I think a lot of people who do wear activewear change into it at the gym. But you do see, especially where I live in the 7th, you see a lot of people running around. But yeah, you don't really often see people in shops wearing their running clothes or whatever. So I guess things maybe haven't changed so much since 2004. Next question. There were 2 questions about vegan restaurants and what I've tried and how hard it is to be a vegan in Paris. I never really explored that, so I can't really answer it. But I'm going to keep my eye on that subject and maybe do an episode in the future. Prez Maxon says, let's say you want to walk across Paris end to end. Where do you start? Where do you finish? Where do you stop along the way? Well, Prez, I've done it twice, and I live streamed on YouTube. So if you check my YouTube channel, you'll see I literally went from the northernmost point I went south to north, and I did the same thing, east to west. And I actually wouldn't recommend it, because it takes an awfully long time, and you probably won't want to stop along the way. I guess it kind of felt harder for me because I was talking the whole time, trying to be entertaining. But I think it's way better that instead of trying to do that, walk from end to end, is you pick 2 far away places and walk between them. Try and avoid the metro. But go watch my videos, see what you think. One from H Van B says, I've seen recent videos with policemen in Paris interrupting everyone's meal outside to check QR codes for the vax. It's just so awful, turning a pleasant meal into something else. And to that I respond, I don't think that's true. I don't think it's true. The way that you phrased it there, interrupting everyone's meal. So far I walk past a lot of restaurants, I've never seen any police doing it. I've talked to people, waiters and waitresses and people in coffee shops. They haven't seen any police. I'm sure it is happening. But you know what I can liken that to is if there's a big protest going on in Paris and someone lights a car on fire and that car burning looks like really dramatic, but it's the only car that's burning, the journalist will typically take a picture of that car and that's what will be on the front page of the newspaper. And it makes you feel like Paris is burning and everything's going crazy, but really it might just be one car. And it's the same with that thing you saw there, H van B. You might have seen the one video of the one police stop. It doesn't really speak for what the city's like, at least not what I've seen walking around the past couple of days. So no, it's not as awful as you said in that comment. Here's one from Rawzizb. We fly in Sunday. What's a slightly risque and of course fun activity to try in Paris? Normally I'd say go to the Moulin Rouge, which is exactly what you asked for really, but I don't think it'll be open. So instead I'm sure there's some kind of cabaret thing. Why don't you try and find that? Otherwise, take all your clothes off and jump in the Seine River and go for a swim, although that might be illegal. Enjoy your trip. Sherry Ashton says, reading the comments has me asking, do restaurants not have bathrooms, museums, larger department stores? She continues to say she has to be strategic about her bathroom breaks. They all have toilets. They all got bathrooms. You're fine. Don't worry about it. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what you read either, although it was difficult when everything was closed because you couldn't go into any restaurants, but things are open again. B. Braden says, how's the heat? Do you or anyone have air conditioning? Pretty much no one has air conditioning, including me, and the heat is intense, but nothing compared to an Australian summer. A couple more. Campaign Bridge says, what percentage of people are back on the streets? That's hard to say now, especially because I'm on a Sunday on a public holiday in August. But I can answer it by saying August in Paris is very, very dead. Like, very dead. Most of the things are closed. So as a percentage right now, it feels like 15%. Here's one from it's hard to, I can click on your names and see what your real names are. There you go, Amy Sarkler Berens. And she says, hello Oliver, new Patreon member here. Thank you, Amy, from Omaha, Nebraska. What are the rules in regards to foreigners moving there? Do you want to become a citizen? And how long does the citizenship process take? I do want to become a citizen. I haven't really talked about this before on the show, but the reason I can live in Europe is because I've got a British passport, because of my British mum. But after the Brexit vote and Brexit happened, it's much harder for me to be here. So I want to become French. And I think it'd be fun anyway. I think it'd be a good story too. And plus I've lived here for 6.5 years now. Makes sense, right? But in terms of the rules for foreigners moving there, I don't know. I really don't know. And I think it's a good chance for me to say that I'm always conscious that I don't want to become the information guy. I got a lot of messages lately from Americans, Canadians, Australians wondering the rules for transferring their vaccination passes and stuff. I don't want to be the guy that does all that information. I'll slowly turn into like a government website. I want to try and be the entertaining guy. And speaking of which, if I do go for the citizenship, I'll give you the entertaining stories that come with it. Thanks, Amy, for the question. I just want to be alone. That's not a comment, that's the name of the next Instagram user who asks if I have any secret places I don't want to tell about because I want to keep them to myself. And I don't think so. I think I tend to share all the secrets because the idea is the more I explore, the more new secret places I find. And by the time I share them, I find new ones. And if I kept all my secrets, then I probably wouldn't have a very good show either. Thanks for the question. I want to be alone, and it makes sense with a name like that you want to find the secret places. I can recommend Google Eiffel Tower Paris secrets, and I've done a bunch of blog posts. I probably shared 40 things that I call secrets. I'm sure you'll love it. Okay, that's enough for the Instagram comments, and remember I'll be posting all these videos I've taken today on Instagram. The next question I had, a few people asked me how Shakespeare & Company is doing. I'm going to cross the river again and check out that bookshop, and also check if they've still got my book stocked. Let's cross the river. What a time to be alive, everybody. I left the Peloton Cafe. ABBA was playing. Chiquitita was playing. on the radio there, which always puts me in a good mood. A little bit of Swedish ABBA. I walked past a bunch of nuns because there's some kind of convent around there, and then I saw that the Paris Plage is on. So that's where I am now. I'm walking through the crowds of the Paris Plage. I thought I'd maybe tell a lot of you guys about it for the first time, or explain it, or update you if you already know what it is. But you can probably hear there are a bunch of people around me, and that's because I think it's August. Wow, funnily enough, I'm standing in front of the sign. 10th of July to 22nd of August this year, they do this thing, the Paris Plage, which is the Paris beaches. And the idea is a lot of people can't perhaps escape from Paris to go down to the Mediterranean or up to Deauville or whatever to the west. So they try and build a little beach along the canal and the Seine. And it's kind of the coolest idea on paper. But, I'm always honest with you guys. I think it's one of those things that sounds a lot cooler than it is. Like, I've been here, 6 or 7 of these Paris Plages now, and every time I hear it, I kind of get excited. I'm like, oh, it's the beach. But it really isn't. You can't imagine that it's like sandy shores leading into the Seine River. It's like they put a couple of hammocks up. I just walked past a chessboard, like a huge chessboard where people have to lift up the pieces with 2 hands, which reminds me, incidentally, of my bucket list for 2021, 100 things to do in Paris. One of them was play chess with the people in Luxembourg Gardens. I've got to be a bit braver to just join a game there. I'm going to try and do that whole thing by the end of the year. But anyway, where I'm walking now, you see they're setting up for a live show tonight on the right. Maybe you can hear it. You hear that hissing noise? They've got fine mist sprays of water spraying onto everybody in this hot Parisian heat. But look, so that's the vibe, like it's a lot of people bring their families down here. A lot of people come and sit on one of the hammocks or the chairs for a little sunbathing session. But don't be deceived by the name Paris Plage. It's not really a beach. But also, don't get me wrong, I think it's really cool. I like the way that where I'm walking now used to be almost a highway. Like, it's still a road. You can see the road markings on it. But a car hasn't been down here for years now, and I think it's great. One of the sort of positive ways they've transformed the city. And I'm also realizing as I'm walking along here that this would have made a really good live video. And now I'm back in Paris, I intend to do a lot more of those live videos. Some public on YouTube, which I encourage you to go subscribe to, but also for the Patreon supporters, which this show is brought to you by the Patreon members, patreon.com/the Eiffel Tower. I'm not going to go on about it. I think you guys know how it works. A big welcome to the newest supporters, and an even warmer thank you and hello to the people who've been around for a long time, making sure the Eiffel Tower continues and thrives. So now, in case you're playing at home, I'm walking through, maybe you can hear the echo of my voice, I'm walking through one of the tunnels, and opening in front of me is the conciergerie, where Marie Antoinette was held before they cut her head off. And on that gory note, I'm going to turn things a little bit more positive. I'm going to go on Facebook, where a lot of people ask me questions too for this episode. A lot, I say a lot. I checked it, I've got 16,000 followers on Facebook, 16,000 followers on Instagram, the exact same number. But just for this question alone, which I posted exactly the same, it was like, I don't know, like 10 times more comments on Instagram. What's the deal with that? Okay, so a lot of people ask about Notre Dame. We've done that. Ali Dunmore says, nothing to ask, just want to say thank you. Listening to you read your book helped me lift my mood through Melbourne lockdown number 5. Well, I'm glad to hear that, Ali. Thanks for sending the positive vibes. Love the positive vibes. Melinda E. Fraser. I miss Paris. It's the best trip of my life. October 2019. I love reliving it with you and what you post and the scenes you show. Keep us updated on Notre Dame. Another Notre Dame. Wow, it's quite a long comment there. She ends up saying how she was in tears when she learned about Notre Dame. Yeah, I think it is time for a Notre Dame update. Melinda, I will get onto it. Madeline just says bonjour. Jackie wants to know more about the sandals I'm wearing in the picture. I think they're just Birkenstocks. And she emailed as well, I don't wear them with socks. Come on, that's a crime. Kumar De Silva is doing a binge listening to your podcast. Hope you're enjoying it, Kumar. And Kathy asks, how's your little family doing? We all feel like we're part of it. What a lovely thing to say, Kathy. Family's doing well. Everyone's in fine form. And now I'm approaching the conciergerie. And pretty unusually. Can you imagine Marie Antoinette in a jail cell, and then hundreds of years later, half-naked Parisians laying on deck chairs just across the water in the sun? What a weird thought. What a lot of skin too, goodness me. Alright, I'm out of here. Okay, guys, I'm sitting in the park called René Viviani, and it's right next to the Shakespeare and Company bookshop. I'm right next to, I think it's the oldest tree in Paris. It's so close, if I were to flick a pebble, I could probably hit one of the leaves of it. And I found a little quiet corner to record this little bit. I got an email. Before we even get into emails, every week, every Friday, I send out a newsletter. And you can subscribe to it. It's free. If you go to theeiffeltower.com/newsletter, every Friday you will get a little slice of Paris in your inbox. There are about 6,000 people subscribed to it. Why don't you be 6,001? Go and check it out. And in this weekly newsletter, I explained a little bit about how I got my second vaccination, how I did it in the town hall in the 8th arrondissement, and I asked people to send in their questions, just like I did on Instagram and Facebook. And here's one from Nicole Moreau. It's kind of French kind of name there, Nicole Moreau. And she says, welcome back. Otis is such a cutie. And parenthood looks good on you and Lee, and I hope it's all going well. It all is, thank you very much. She says, questions. Can we please have an update on how the Shakespeare & Co. bookshop is going after the halt in tourism? Well, let me tell you, Nicole, I just went in there. I didn't want to record in there because it kind of feels like a sacred library or something. I didn't want to talk in there. But I can answer your question. I think it's going really well for them because it's super busy. Even out the front, I took a video. Out the front was busy. They got that cafe to the left-hand side now. That was rammed. Out the front, it was just packed. It was almost like a queue to get in. When I went in there, I had to sort of sidestep just to get to the side where the children's books are. And who do you think was standing there but Sylvia Whitman, the owner, the lady behind the books, and she was running the children's section. There was a siren in the background. I bet a lot of you guys driving around the world thought you were in Paris, or worse, that you're getting chased down by a Paris police car. But I actually talked to Sylvia and invited her on the podcast, and she said she'll have a listen. So maybe she's listening right now. Maybe she'll be on the podcast soon. But she was lovely, and she said a lot of the tourists are back. Things seem to be going well. A lot of Americans, not many Brits, she said. And then I passed out to the back and checked in on the stock of my books that they sell there, Kylie the Crocodile and Paris on Air, both sold out again. So it's a weird system, I must say. They wait till I go in and ask about it, and then they tell me that it's sold out, and then they order more. So they've ordered 10 of each. If you're quick, you can get them. I'm going to sign them. I'm going to sign them with some kind of in-joke, I think, inside them. So if you want them, shakespeareandcompany.com, I believe, is their website. Why don't you make them sell out really quickly so Sylvia thinks that I'm a player, and that I'm worth talking to on the podcast. Check that out. Thanks for the email, Nicole. There was another bit that she asked that I can answer quickly. She said, is the bottom of the Eiffel Tower still blocked off for security checks following all the terrorism threats a few years back? Or is it clear and open again? Unfortunately, it's still closed. It's closed, but you can see through it. It's like 12 feet high, sort of. It's not glass, but it's perspex, I guess. And you can't just walk through that. You could in the good old days. I think that'll be here to stay. And, they weren't terror threats, they were worse, they were terror attacks. So, I think the days of walking underneath the Eiffel Tower unhindered, is that a word? Unhindered, and looking up the Iron Lady's skirt are probably over, but it's still easy to get in there, you can still do it. There were a bunch of other emails that came through. Here's one that says, Oliver, hope you remember that Grandma's birthday. Oh, that's from my mum. You can ignore that one. There's one from, let's see. There's one that's just a compliment. It's from Beth Murphy. She says, I love the way you think. Choosing the building you would like to visit as the criteria for your vaccination site is a great idea. That's why we follow you. Looking forward to your new book. She says she's referring to the hint I gave about the new book that's coming out, I think, in October. Well, more on that if you subscribe to the newsletter, guys. But I'm going to sort of wind things up there. There were more emails, but I think I'll just answer them privately because time's running out, and I wanted to sort of end on a positive note. I'm sitting here in this beautiful little quiet square, René Viviani, as I said. You can probably hear the crunch of passers-by as they walk on this gravelly footpath. You can hear the church in the back. Guys, you probably feel like you're in Paris with me right now. But as the afternoon is setting in the Latin Quarter, I want to wind this one up and just say a sincere thanks to everybody for listening. A sincere thanks to the people who send in these lovely questions and compliments. A sincere plea as well to not send in the bad vibes. A few people start sending in really unusual emails lately, especially when vaccination topics come up. Let's stay positive, guys. I think with this job, this career, this podcast that I've done, I've taken upon myself to be as positive as I can and to entertain and to distract you, which goes back to what I said before. I'm not the information guy. Don't ask me the questions about, vaccination and passports and stuff like that. But I will always be here to send positive vibes out into the world and to hopefully entertain you a little bit. All I ask in return is that if you're going to send something back into my inbox, keep it positive. It makes it easy for me. Don't forget, even though I'm in Paris and it might seem like I'm living the dream here, I want to be able to travel too. I've not been back to Australia for many years now. I haven't seen my family for years. Australia's off the cards for me. And my parents still haven't met my son. Doesn't look like it'll happen for a while. So remember, there's two sides to every coin. But let's focus on the positive. Let's focus on the positive. That's what I'm going to do. And that's what I hope you guys do too. Remember though, and here's my good vibes I'm going to send out at the end of this. Paris today was simply magnificent. The sun was shining. Everything seemed normal. People were friendly. And even if you can't make it today or tomorrow, Paris is here and it's waiting for you and it's as good as ever. So don't forget that. This city's waiting for you and I'm going to be happy to keep sharing with you in the meantime. If you enjoy this show, tell your friends. Spread the word. Help me to make it grow. If you really enjoy it and you want more, you want to see it grow, consider becoming a Patreon member, patreon.com/The Earful Tower. I'm super inspired to do some live walks. It's been a while. The city's looking good and I'm ready to share it with you. More info on that coming up, but you can bet that it's the members that will know first. I'm going to sign off, sending positive vibes from Central Paris to you wherever you are. Merci beaucoup. Au revoir.